Today's episode is sponsored by our friends at Famous Faces and Funnies. Hey, check out their Whatnot app as well as their Facebook Live auctions on great deals. Hello and welcome to another installment of Codename New 202, the GenX for GenX channel. I'm your presenter, GIJoe. For our most recent episode, we've dropped our monthly comic book pickup episode, and like always, kind of catered towards the fellow Gen Xer. And do we have an excellent assortment of, throwbacks, so to speak? We've been looking at, of course, GIJoe, Transformers, Thundercats, this new absolute universe that DC is coming out with. Whole different backstories for the three big figures when it comes to DC, Wonder Woman, Superman, Batman. So it's a completely different spin, and it's really getting highly acclaimed, I may add to that. And so make sure to check out that episode. Today's episode, we're going to actually look at something we haven't done in a while, and that's some action figures. Significantly decreased in picking up things when it comes to that. And I'll talk more about when we look at the one classified figure. But I've been really intrigued with this new Masters of the Universe cartoon collection. A few months ago, we picked up Teela, and my regulars know, I enjoy picking Teela. I'm a big Teela fan, big Evil Lynn fan, and our good friends over at Simple Tricks and Nonsense. Rebecca does a fantastic Teela cosplay. It is my favorite cosplay that she does. She looks just like Teela, and it's funny now. I think of her as Teela. So anyway, make sure you check out their site and check out Rebecca's Teela. I think you'll be really impressed. But anyway, so the Teela figure came out a few months ago. Now, recently, the Evil Lynn version of this has come out. And boy, I think these are really good. We looked at the Origins. This was the first wave that came out in 2020 and kind of more harken back to the 1983 Evil Lynn figure. This is more in line with this, while this one is more dealing with more of the Filmation cartoon that we all grew up in loving. I asked Simple Tricks because they're pretty much the authority when it comes to anything Masters of the Universe related. Which is the best figure for Evil Lynn, and as far as this 5-inch scale that's harkened back to the original line. And I'm going to say, and we did 2 episodes about this, the Super 7 Evil Lynn is by far the best Evil Lynn I have seen. It combines kind of like a perfect blend of both worlds, toy world and cartoon world at the same time. I think this is this entire line, I think, this is what happened. The IP was dormant, or, doing little things, and then they were going to the mail order aspect of it. But they gave the license to Super 7, and just before the Origin line came out in 2020, they were doing really good with these. Super 7 was. And I was a big fan. I got 3 of them up there on the wall behind me. But this is the best Masters of the Universe collection, I would say. This is a close second now, but I think this is phenomenal. The Super 7, and of course, Mattel kind of took back once they saw how good and successful this line was doing. Hey, let's cut the middleman out and let's do it ourselves. And that's what the Origin version started coming out. And we saw all of it in stores, which is good. But at the same time, it's just funny how that is the best version of Evelyn, Tila, He-Man. I think the He-Man one is. Let me bring that down. Yeah, this is the He-Man version of that Super 7 line, and I think this is nice, the best He-Man, because it just harkens back to that original He-Man. So this is an excellent line. It's funny how they stuck with that, and then with the Evil Lynn one, they kind of blended the filmation aspect of it. But, you know, I think these have been really a big hit with a lot of people. So I have to agree with that sentiment. So Evil Lynn has been added, you know, completely. Now I got to get a She-Ra to go with the origin She-Ra that I have up there on the wall. So yeah, that's going to be exciting when I get She-Ra, because you got to get She-Ra. You know, you can't just have He-Man by himself, or the two girls, Evil Lynn and Tila. You got to throw in She-Ra in there as well. She's, you know, and also Rebecca does a cosplay of She-Ra as well. That's pretty popular. I remember when Simple Tricks and Nonsense came out with that. It was a big hit over at PowerCon. So yeah, that's another great, amazing cosplay. So the next thing we'll look at is a GIJoe Classifieds, and I'm going to dive a little bit deeper with GIJoe Classifieds than, of course, with Motu, but that's because, you know, I'm known for doing GIJoe related content. Anyway, so let's take a look at this figure. This is Kim Arashikage, codenamed Jinx, and this is a classified figure. I have not really been picking up classifieds for the past year and a half. Kind of altogether stopped. It kind of lost the shine for me. You know, looking at Emily and the team there, it's like they're just preying on nostalgia. Like, you know, yes, all the GIJoe HasLabs have been successful. You know, kudos to that. But also these, you know, it's kind of like when you compare the classifieds to the 3 3/4 inch, and it's because, you know, they were such an integral part of our playtime, that I even think that these classifieds kind of lose the shine a little bit, if that makes sense. It has a little bit of a soulless feeling I've been getting when I pick these up. But I don't know, I digress. What do you guys think? I mean, a lot of people are still picking up classifieds. They got every single one that's released. I was there up to a certain point, and then I was like, I'm done, I'm out. So let's take a look at this Jinx figure. Alrighty. So let's start things off right. I know it's been a while since I looked at a classified. Now, if you're new to this, you know, I've been doing GIJoe recaps, where we look not just at the issue, but the entire mythos and stuff that relates to that issue. And we've had a good bunch of regulars, and man, those were some good times. But the important thing, and I've noticed that a lot of these people that have jumped on the GIJoe bandwagon since 2018, you know, starting up their own YouTube channel, when they do these things, you know, it's sad how much, you know, they try to copy off AC, but leave out all of, they just unbox it, like that Kyle guy and some other, these upstarts that are popping up. They don't really talk about the mythos, and I think that's what kind of makes the figures special. Each single one is unique, and that's what I love. And that's one of my favorite things, doing all the research, looking in, and I like to present that to you guys. Now, before we dive in, Jinx is really sentimental to me. Maybe like a lot of you in the 80s, like, you know, if you had cousins and stuff, well, we had a rule where I wouldn't get the same thing that my cousins picked up. And these fuckers got... they got the Snake Eyes version 2 and Storm Shadow version 1, and I'm like, damn, I wanted them too. So I ended up getting Jinx, and I really like Jinx. And here's the thing, I didn't care if it was female. I mean, my first GIJoe was CoverGirl and Barbecue. So getting a girl figure character really didn't like deter me. I thought it was cool because, you know, I always thought it was cool, those tomboys that were like mix it up with the guys. I thought they were cool. Like, you know, they didn't care about dolls. They cared about football. Like, for some reason, I always got a kick out of tough girls, like, you know, tomboys, so to speak. I thought that was kind of cool. But anyway, Jinx also, here's my future self, is the same color as Rutgers University. So a little bit of, you know, this is our school colors. But the figure itself, they made, of course, after the 1982-1994 line, this mold came back several times. I think Vipra was one they used, you know. So they use this, you know, mold so regularly. There's so many different versions of quote-unquote Jinx, but, you know, in this iconic portrayal of her. Now, what's interesting is her first appearance, guys. She made her first appearance in G.I. Joe issue number 59. And why is that significant? Because the one with the pogo in it. And that ridiculous cover. How Larry Hama hates that. My regulars know that, you know, often here and there I get a chance to talk with Larry Hama. You know, that character Mongoose, very loosely based on not only my experience, but my father's experience. As my father was the first, probably the first Indian-born Muslim to serve in the United States Marine Corps during the Vietnam era. So, like Larry asked, you know, what was his experience and stuff like that. That kind of fueled a little bit of Mongoose's backstory, you know. But going back to Jinx, yeah, so her first appearance was in issue number 59 with that god-awful cover. Here, I'll put up, I mean, you got two things that suck about G.I. Joe. Raptor and fucking the pogo thing. Isn't that crazy? So this issue is so bad that it should be worth money because it's that bad according to G.I. Joe fan base. Now, the other interesting aspect of Jinx is everyone thinks about this issue number 21, the silent issue. So I believe G.I. Joe issue number, is it 87 off the top of my head? I think so. I'm looking it up. I think it's 87 or 85. Let me look it up. Well, anyway, the second silent issue seems to go under the radar for a lot of people. And we had HCC 788, Hooded Cobra Commander, and we had a discussion about this, how the second silent issue kind of, you know, doesn't get that much fanfare. But there was a lot of good things, and, you know, that particular issue focused on Storm Shadow and Jinx more so than Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow as issue 21 did. So pick that one up. I mean, I have one in one of our old grading partners, EGC, shit, I forgot the name, EGS Grading Services, who, you know, I fell out of favor with, you know, but he did a custom label for me with that kind of like the same camo pattern as Storm Shadow, and that was freaking amazing. But anyway, so let's take a look at this character, you know, for that bullshit talking. So again, we have Jinx here coming out in 1987. Now, what's interesting about Jinx is that, you know, her first appearance, a lot of people associate her with the G.I. Joe, the movie. And I think, here's the card back too. This is one of the, you could see during this time, like they started transitioning away from the drawing to the more the computerized, you know, background imaging there. So this is more like a computer digital, where the old ones, if you look at the 1982, you know, all the way up to probably, I think, 1985, they were still doing the illustration type of background. So that's one thing unique about this. And in the back, we have the file card, you know, Jinx, Ninja Intelligence. Jinx studied and competed in 3 forms of martial arts from the time she was 7 until she graduated from Bryn Mawr. You know who also graduated from there? Lady J. That's right. That's a good question. Let's see, these upstart G.I. Joe fans know that one. Upon arriving in Japan for a vacation, she discovered that her family had been ninjas for generations, and she was officially initiated into the clan. Jinx was recruited for the G.I. Joe team by Snake Eyes, which we saw in that G.I. Joe Retaliation movie. We saw that she was basically Snake Eyes' understudy. Comics, not so much so. It was Storm Shadow that pretty much kind of... she was kind of like established, though, because Billy was the one that was going through training, and she was kind of like helping Billy under Snake Eyes' tutelage, so to speak. So her quote is, "Don't underestimate Jinx. She has been to the secret mountain and studied the 7 silent forms with the blind master. She has the eye that pierces, the iron hand, and the heart that waits. She can see through your deception, batter aside your defense, and dazzle you with the strength of her will." That sounds like a tough woman. Now, here's the other thing about that. They kind of made a nod to that in the Sunbow movie, the G.I. Joe, the movie where, she fights blind, that's the only time she really depicted that. And that's kind of like, I guess, a nod to the Silent Master. So anyway, that's Jinx figure. She comes with the backpack. Yeah. She has swords. I don't have the swords with me. And she has her staff. Of course, that was shown in G.I. Joe, the movie, when she takes on Beachhead. So that's pretty cool. So here's the thing. I've kind of alluded it during the comic stuff. I've kind of stopped collecting classifieds. Like, the only reason why I picked this up is because I have this little niche of collecting female characters. Look at this, case in point, where we got a whole shelf allocated to the classified female characters so far. And of course, we did those several episodes about the Night Stalkers and the female Cobra Troopers. Dr. Biggles Jones. So when it comes to female G.I. Joe Cobra characters, I think I'm one of the few collectors that kind of focused in and target that aspect of collecting. So anyway, I kind of stopped picking up classifieds. For me, I don't know. To me, these things have there's not that attachment as my 3 3/4 inch figure. To me, this thing is far superior than that. Even though with all the modern stuff, that's great and all, but to me, this one is my favorite Jinx figure of all time. Just because all that stuff, that backstory I just told you about. And I think like a lot of these people that, I've been noticing, like, you got to remember, a lot of us are coming from a time when we were in G.I. Joe and nobody else. It was like an abandoned amusement park. For me, HCC 788, Forum BX257, Timmer from Half the Battle, G.I. Joe, Berg. Like, we had like a little niche, and like nobody was following our channels. Look at the subscription numbers and compare that to your comparable Star Wars channel. It's like, not even like one fourth of what these Star Wars or other franchise have. So, we've noticed that since 2018, and I'm not saying anything negative about it. It's just, that's the way it is. When things, become anew, they become trendy again. That's just the way things go. Is it a good thing? Now, my whole issue with G.I. Joe returning is that in this climate, G.I. Joe is supposed to be an excellent chance to pass it down to another generation. Because as of right now, with Hasbro, Emily, and her little, her little teenage mutant, what was she, Mighty Morphin? She is more of a Mighty Morphin Power Ranger. She's said that many a time. She doesn't know anything about G.I. Joe. So it just doesn't seem she's genuinely interested. I mean, it's like, it seems like manufactured excitement. And I had several conversations with Emily, and it's just, she has her agendas that she pushes more than the line itself. And the point is that these things, they should make these for kids too, not just like that 30-year-old guy, And that's why I'm seeing buying these things. And it's like, oh, cool. And they totally missed out on 1980, the whole experience of, these 3/3/4 inch figures. It's like, this is their G.I. Joe now, and they'll say, oh, far superior. But there's an innocence about these 3/3/4 inch figures that these classifieds will never have. So with that aside, let's crack this thing open and take a look at it. Alrighty, so here is the box art for Kim Arashikage, and I actually like it. I think this is pretty good. I mean, I haven't really seen many boxes since I pretty much stopped collecting classifieds. And then we got the homage to that G.I. Joe the movie with her wearing the blindfold there. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that the weaponry there, she's in a gym, so it's just like redoing that scene in G.I. Joe the movie. That's pretty cool. It's a little attention to detail. And of course, the symbols. Gosh, I missed ACC 78 and the crazy things he would come up with saying that these things mean. But there's your scan code. I don't even know how to fucking use that. But anyway, here is Kim Arashikage out of the container. And I like I mentioned earlier, I like the fact that there's two head sculpts there. I like the fact that there is, using a little bit, that's why I brought my wonderful 1987 Jinx. And of course, we will be using Iain's display stance. And if you've been a long time follower of this channel, I have been raving since 2014 how amazing Iain's display stands are. I picked up another set for this mess here of my 3/3/4 inch G.I. Joes. If you follow me regularly, we had the hurricane come, so it's kind of like reshuffling things back in order, putting things back after the hurricane. I'm still going through that. Of course, this room is a low priority, but at the same time, so when I get some time, I, put together a lot of the shelves back, and you could see I did show this off in an earlier episode. So we're getting there slowly but surely, making some improvements as we go along. But yeah, that's pretty much where we are right now. So I needed another set of stands for the vintage Star Wars and vintage G.I. Joes. And I hate to repeat myself to regulars, but these are the best figure stands by far. You see the ones sold on Amazon, you see the ones sold on eBay, they come from China. Those are responsible for so many heel breaks and everything else. These are gragile. So if you look at it, right there, the actual peg in it kind of looks like a cone, with the point cut off. So it gradually fits on to the toy where it's snug and not being forced all the way down where it could potentially, once it's a nice snug fit, you let it go. This will prevent heel breakages on these, especially those 1982 G.I. Joes. I will not display any 1982 Joes without these star stands. So pick up a set, they're linked below, and they are the preferred vendor by Star Wars. They are on the floor during celebrations, one of the few vendors that get that privilege, that get that honor. American, this is the guy who runs this lives 2 towns down from me. So Iain is a fantastic person. Daughter plays in soccer, She looks up to the women's national team. That's what this hobby is about, supporting members within our own community. Oh, so let's pull out Jinx and take a look at her. Alright, so here's Jinx accessories. She has an extra set of fists. I already lost one of them. Like 2 seconds, that's a record. She has the actual blindfold, like you saw in the package, to recreate the movie scene. She has her other head sculpt, which I like, and I'm probably going to feature my Jinx with this head sculpt because it is reminiscent to her 1987 head sculpt. And she has her staff. Now, the other interesting part is she doesn't have a book bag or backpack like she does here, but she also has her staff. So, I don't know why I showed you when I have the figure right there. But yeah, her staff is harking back to her one in the 1987 action figure. So those are pretty cool. I like that. The backpack not being there, I don't think that's such a big deal. But I like that. Well, I don't like that, I already could predict that, 9 out of 10 people are going to lose these two right off the bat, So that's going to suck. I already lost one already. That's a record. So let's put everything together and have a little dive into how Jinx looks. Alrighty, so the first look-see is Jinx without her hood, and I wanted to do this first to get it over with, because like I said, I'm going to put that the hood on her, because, I want her to look like that. I like also, I just noticed this, that dragon that she has is also on here, so a side-by-side looks really good. Difference is her shoes. I always thought her shoes were kind of cute, like little red slippers, like, like Dorothy or some shit like that. But I always thought that was pretty cute. So let's swap out her head and put the head that I want to have on. Alrighty, now that looks like Jinx. I like it. Yep. This does it for me, folks. I think that this is well done. And she is going to look great with the other female characters up there on the female wall. But yeah, I mean, I like... See, in this case, the classifieds is a nice improvement. It still doesn't replace how sentimental the 3 3/4 inch or how much like to me that is Jinx. This classified is of course a modern interpretation of it, but it doesn't replace the 3 3/4 inch ones. It's just something that for me, who has kind of fell out of favor with the classified line, because it's just exploiting corporate greed, and not promoting the brand to a younger generation. And I have issues with, and I mentioned earlier, I have issues how Emily and her team, she's made it pretty much clear that she wants to be on Power Rangers. And this is just a stepping stone. If there's a spot open in Power Rangers, she's jumping ship fast. She's made no, she hasn't hid the fact that she is a Power Rangers, and good all to her. But at the same time, I think that how they've treated the fan base is like we're retarded, and I know I've been saying this, the Hasbro Labs, the HasLabs projects have all been successful. Well, those products sold themselves. Emily, Lenny seems to be genuine, but Emily is just terrible. During that 40th anniversary, they were giving promotions to cosplayers. People had no idea what GIJoe was about. They're like, "Oh, thanks for the free gift." And I asked her, I'm like, "You're sending these things to people that have never posted or showcased anything about GIJoe, and then you have a small group of people that have been quietly carrying the banner all these years, and you completely ignored them. And then you're giving it to some shady people that have they have a modern GI Joe YouTube channel, but on the other side they sell promote assault weapons and stuff. It's like that's not what GI Joe is about. It's about diversity. It's about bringing people together. It's about working together. It's not about going on the hills of Appalachias and training for some January 6th nonsense. That's not what GI Joe is about. So I was very disappointed knowing that she sent some, and I know these channels and who they're run by, and it's very disheartening to see that there are people like that are fans. It's like, how dare you degrade GI Joe? But anyway, let's go back to this figure. I think it's very well done, and it's just amazing and beautiful. Even though I've kind of detached myself from classifieds and not picking up everything under the sun, I think this is definitely, especially the OG guys. If you're an 82 to 89 fan, like many Gen Xers are, and I'm not talking about the 90s fans base, but if you were there up until the G.I. Joe, the movie, then you should definitely add this Jinx, because it completes, like I showed you on the wall back there. I have all the original girls that were part of the 1982-94 lineup. I hope they produce a Ninja Force Scarlet. I would love to see that. That's the other classified figure I'm probably waiting to get.